Hi guys, welcome back to another video of today, right? In today's video, we'll be discussing about the concept of race. As you know, I think many of you guys who have followed this channel for a very long time, if you watched mine and Rajoshi's video, if you've got the investment checklist workshop or the portfolio analysis also, you understand the concept of race, right? That is basically that, let's say if you have 4 or 5 players in a sector, basically whatever players in the sector that is there, the fastest growing player in that sector makes the most money. Now to explain it to you by using a very simple example, think about a horse race, right? And you are the person betting on the horse. Now let's say there are 8 horses, and obviously, right, there will be one horse that will come first, there will be another horse that comes second, and so forth, right? It's a race at the end of the day. Let's say person A, there are three people, person A, person B, and person C, right? Person A, person A is the one who bet on the horse that came first, person B bet on the horse that came second, and person C bet on the horse that came third. Now we will see all the three players that is there, person A, B, C made money. But having said that, person A made the most money compared to person B and person C. Why is that so? Because person A, a horse that is there, came first, right? So similarly in the market, I think a lot of you all understand that by now, the concept of race. Let's say if there are, let's say for example, there are 4 to 5 players in a sector. The company that comes first, when I'm talking about here is the sales growth over here, the company that posts the best amount of sales growth, they actually make more money for the shareholders than anybody else. And we saw that with multiple sectors in the last financial year, that is 24 and 25. And a notable one was the AC stocks, or the AC, the entire AC gambit, where we're talking about the manufacturing space. We had 4 companies over there: PGL, Amber, Virtuos Optoelectronics, and EPAC Durable. And you saw that, right, the demand was great, everybody was performing really well over there. PGL also was growing, Amber also was growing, everybody were a high growth engine, right? Everybody were growing by 40-50% and so forth. But in that player, you'll see only one player that was there, that is PGL, made the most money. Amber also made money, EPAC also made money, Virtuos Optoelectronics also made money. But PGL made the most money for its shareholder compared to any other company that was there in that ASICA entire space. Okay, now here is the thing. At the end of the day, I understand you people get to understand the entire race concept, but at the end of the day also, here there is a caveat. Okay, now I will, let's say for example, it's not just about which player you are going to put your money in. There are certain races where you shouldn't even take participate in. Okay, like for example, I was explaining over here horse ka race hai, but there are times in the entire market where in a certain sector it is not horse ka race that is happening, ye kachwa ka race ban raha hai ultimately. Okay, and you don't have to take part in this race. What I'm trying to tell is, let's say for example, I'll take an example of IT sector. Okay, IT sector mein agar aap dekhte ho, in 2020, in 2021, again excellent, right? Like it was the talk of the town if you were during that time. And even there also, do you remember there, all the IT stocks made money. If you were holding TCS, if you were holding Infosys, KPIT, but there was one stock that made the most money, which was it? Tata Elxsi. Why? Because Tata Elxsi was the only one player at that time that was growing at 40%. Everybody were growing between 20 to 30. Tata Elxsi was growing at 40% on a year-on-year basis, and every quarter also they were growing 10%, right? So you understand that. But right now, if you see the entire IT ka space, if you see, right, it has taken a toss, right? It has become ulta. Like I tell, no sector or no stock is invincible, right? Everything is a cycle. Every single thing, whether it is FMCG, whether it is mining, whether it is metal, anything, there is nothing ki sab aise hi chalta hai. Everything is a cycle, theek hai? Inflation hota hai, kuch deflation hota hai. Everything, there is no safe stock, there is no safe sector where you can park your money and be happy for the rest of your life, not think about anything. Okay, now the same thing with IT also. It had an upcycle in the year 2021 and so forth. But after that, in the end of 22, 23, and now I think for the last 2 to 3 years, we are seeing a down cycle of IT sector. आप कोई भी player को उठा के देखो यहाँ पे, whether it is Tata Elxsi का sales, the winner of the race at that time, now the loser, is growing at -3%. अगर आप TCS का देखो, is growing at 2%. HCL Tech, I believe somewhere 4 या 6% या 8% का growth है. I think HCL Tech is 8%. Then you have your Tata Tech, which is growing at probably 2 to 3% or so, right? Now these are the races I tell you do not take part in, okay? Because can you see over here, the fastest growing player also, for example, is hardly growing its sale by 8 to 10%. Again, you can do the same thing with paint sector, okay? अगर आप paint sector का भी देखते हो, although the paint का Q1 FY26 result hasn't come, if you talk about Q4 FY25, you see the fastest growing player वहाँ पे Indigo Paints, which is growing again by high single digit, 8 to 12% in that range. Asian Paints sales degrowth, Berger Paints, degrowth. Kansai Nerolac, nothing, low single digit. Similarly, you can talk about Moltec packaging, or not Moltec, but you can talk about the packaging space also, right? Hardly 10 to 12%. There is only one player, I think TCPL Polyplex, which is growing at 12 to 14%. Now, do you see in all these in all these sectors that is there, whether it is paints, whether it is IT space, whether it is packaging, whether it could be certain companies in the capital goods space such as Bharatwire, Usha Martins, Karvare, which is making this ropes and fibers and all of these things. Do you see even the fastest growing player or जो इस entire competition में first आ रहा है, right? Like if you talk about paints में first कौन आ रहा है अभी? Indigo Paints. Even that these are the races that you do not want to play, ठीक है? क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो first आ रही है वो भी मतलब कुछ काम का ही नहीं है, ठीक है? इंडिगो पेंट्स का 12% का ग्रोथ लेके आप क्या करोगे? HCL टेक का 8% का ग्रोथ लेके आप क्या करोगे, राइट? आई मीन आई हैव अ वेरी सिंपल पॉलिसी. इफ यू आर कमिंग ओवर हियर, यू आर पुटिंग सो मच एफर्ट, यू आर पुटिंग सो मच ऑफ योर टाइम, यू टेकिंग वॉलिटिलिटी, इतना टेंशन, इतना एंग्जाइटी है, राइट? यू कैन रीड ऑल यू वांट, बट आई बी it's natural for you to panic over here because you've got a huge money over here deployed, right? It is everybody's life savings that's been deployed over here, so it is very natural for you to panic over here. So if you're going to put so much of your time and effort and energy over here, why would you want a 10 to 12% kind of growth engine? It is absolutely pointless. I mean if you look at our country is growing at 7%. उसमें 5% inflation डालो, 12% तो वही हो गया. So anything that you hold should go twice the rate of your country का growth rate, ना, including inflation. It has to grow more than like 20-25%. That has to be the minimum benchmark for you in order to make money in order to make money in the market. Now when you hold these kind of companies, right, and especially if you're taking part in this race, even if you're taking the number one player in this race, now you're bound to lose over here because यहाँ पे that entire growth only doesn't make sense. So it is not just about because I this thought came because somebody had asked me in the DM कि like it is coming first in the race, right, and I saw कि like उसका growth rate ही कुछ नहीं है. So what is more important, along with choosing the number one player in the race, you also have to make sure you are actually taking part in the right race, right? Now there are certain, like if you talk about the jewelry space right now, if you talk about certain FMCG ka companies right now, right, these are the high growth engines, right? These are like race mein everybody is growing, right? Everybody is a high growth engine. It's like talk about यहाँ पे घोड़ा का रेस चल रहा है, extremely fastest, not just घोड़ा का रेस, यहाँ पे कार का रेसिंग चल रहा है, Formula 1 का कार का रेसिंग चल रहा है. Other than that, if you talk about if you look at the other kind of players over here, if you talk about paints का sector, packaging and all of this, capital goods का sector, right, these are like कछुआ का रेस, tortoise का रेस चल रहा है. So make sure not only by choosing a high growth engine in the race, you also have to make sure that you're playing the right race. आप प्रॉपर रेस में अपना पैसा लगा रहे हो, बेट लगा रहे हो. मेक श्योर जो भी आप बेट लगा रहे हो ना, वो घोड़ा का रेस होगा, नॉट कछुआ का रेस. सो टुडे गो इनटू योर पोर्टफोलियो एंड चेक व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रेस आर यू प्लेइंग घोड़ा का रेस जिसमें आपका घोड़ा है जो फेरारी के जैसा भाग रहा है, या आप कछुआ का रेस खेल रहे हो. कछुआ का रेस खेल रहे हो ना, यू आर अबाउट टू लूज, बिकॉज थिंक अबाउट इट. एक कछुआ को 100 मीटर्स इन ऑर्डर फॉर अ कछुआ टू फिनिश द रेस, हाउ लॉन्ग डज इट टेक? एंड मार्केट में ऐसा नहीं है स्लो एंड स्टडी मेक्स यू विन द रेस. दैट नेवर हैपेंस इन द मार्केट. इट ओनली हैपेंस इन योर नर्सरी का वो टेक्स्ट बुक जो है ना, वो रैबिट एंड tortoise ka race. It only happens over there, otherwise it doesn't happen. So make sure at the end of the day when you're doing, not just you're choosing the right player, but you're choosing the right race to play. Do not go and play jahan pe where the highest growth rate engine only is hardly 10-15%. Anything that is there, make sure it has to grow 2x that of the growth rate of the country. Other than that, any race that you take is extremely futile. Okay? So again, today when you go check your portfolio, see that whatever the race that you're having, not only you're having the number one player, you're holding that Ferrari in that race, आप जो भी है, not only that, but also at the same time जो आप race खेल रहे हो, वो कछुआ का race नहीं है, वो extremely high fast का race है. वरना over here it becomes very very difficult to make money. ठीक है? And I hope this entire race, I know a lot of you all understand this entire race का concept right now. If you don't, you can watch my videos, it's explained. But also a better thing would be to buy the investment checklist workshop, because I think once you understand the concept of the race, right, like कौन first आ रहे, who's winning the race and everything, it is so easy to make money over here in the market. So that's that for today's video. Take care.